My coming out story goes a little something like this. I knew right away that I was not straight. I remember being very different and not being your typical girl. I liked to play with boys. I loved sports. I was absolutely 100% what you would have called a tomboy when I was growing up. I was really aware of my sexual orientation. I knew that it made me different, and I tried to just hide it because I had a good life. I was really lucky. I had two parents that loved me and loved each other, and I was scared of ruining that. I was scared of losing that, and I didn't want to chance it. So I pretended for a really long time that I was not gay. And I remember the first acknowledgement I ever made of it, I was 9 years old, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I just remember saying to myself that you are not gay. I don't want to be gay. And I think that I just stared at myself as if I was going to be able to will the gay out of me. And I remember doing a similar thing when I was 12 years old, only saying, you're gonna get married to a man and you're gonna have kids and you're not gonna be gay. And nothing that I did seemed to be working, and I couldn't think of anything else that I could do. So I just pretended. And when you're pretending that you are someone you're not, it can actually be really detrimental to you as a person. And it can 100% split you. And it can be really hard to get back from that. And I definitely believe that I created these two worlds. One world where I was gay, and I thought about being gay and what that would be like. And then another world where I was straight and I was being the person I was supposed to be. And I was dating the boys and pretending everything was fine and that I was happy. And it just was the furthest thing from the truth. Growing up, I was brought up in a Catholic school in high school and in grade school, and it was a very unsafe place to be as a queer kid. You were taught about the values of the Catholic organization and religion, and what that meant was that you basically married someone of the opposite sex and had babies so that you could have more Catholics. And that just did not seem to be in my frame of mind or my grand plan. Regardless of how much I wanted to pretend that it was, I knew that this was not something that I could ever do. And it was hard because it really puts you at odds with yourself. And I think that one of the hardest things that I found about growing up as a queer kid who was completely closeted was how at odds I was with myself all of the time. And that created a real fracture. And it definitely made room for things like self-doubt and self-hate and a lot of loathing and a lot of depression. And it's hard because everyone thinks that when you're depressed, you're just sad and you don't want to do anything. And that's just not the case all the time. If you had seen me or knew me, you would have said that I was a happy person. I had a lot of friends, that I got along with everybody in school, and I didn't really have any issues. And that was what I wanted everyone to see. And that's what I was talking about with those two worlds, you know. Queer people are great at acting and pretending when they need to, because it literally can save their life. And when you do it for such a long time, like 21 years, you get really good at it. And so you can create these stories and these plots that you want everyone to believe. And they do, because you are so invested in your safety and your secret that you make sure that you have no flaws in your story. And it is so damaging, because when you go to sleep at night and you know that you're living a lie, you feel like you don't deserve to live. And I think that is definitely one of the hardest things about growing up and not being able to be who you truly are. And what might even be worse is trying to, for so long, understand why it's so wrong. When I was 15 years old, I met the first person I ever had a crush on. We met the summer before grade 11. We went to a movie with a mutual friend, and she changed my life forever. And for 2 years, we were the best of friends. We did absolutely everything together. And then when things got too hard, because I was not out and I was really scared, unfortunately, we stopped being friends. And that was probably one of the hardest things I'd ever gone through, because I'd never really had to deal with emotions for someone else before, because I had protected myself so much. And it was a terrible feeling to not be able to say to that person, I love you, or anything else that you heard straight people say to each other all the time. And I think that was something that was just so unfortunate, because you lose out on so much. I remember growing up and never really being in a relationship that felt real to me, because it was fake. It was acting and pretending, again, for safety. And so you don't really know how to properly be in a relationship. And I do feel like that is something that I have struggled with my entire life, because I feel really inadequate and feel like that young kid that was creating those two separate worlds, that you feel like you're sort of in the middle and you don't know what world to be in anymore. And I think that coming out of these situations and being able to say that enough is enough and you have to take a stand is one of the hardest decisions that you will make, especially when you're young. But it's also one of the best decisions that you'll make. Because when you come out, you're finally admitting to the world what you've known about yourself your entire life. Because I'm not sure if anyone has said this, but no one chooses to be gay. No one chooses to be queer, transgender. It's just who you are. It's how you're born. And it's such a shame that we still live in a world that feels like that is the other. But when you do come out and when you finally admit to the world what you've already known for a long time, there is a strength in that. And you don't know it right away, because you're kind of, for the first time, eyes wide open, and your sensories are on overdrive, and you are having a hard time processing everything. But when you finally come to grips and you recognize that you just did one of the biggest things in the world for yourself, being able to acknowledge that is a really powerful thing, and tribute to yourself and your self-love. And I would say that is the point where you are able to learn to love yourself. And I think once I was able to recognize that and say that I'm queer, and then go through that process, is when I was able to start to understand what it meant to love yourself. Because without doing that, it was hard to love anyone else. And when you start to love yourself, you're able to become an authentically productive human being. And the reason why that's so important to me is because when you're living an authentic life and you're okay with who you are, you're able to tell all of those other people that may go through what you're going through, or went through, or are going through what you went through, that you have power and resources, and that you will be okay if you just push through. And I think the thing about being gay and the beauty about being queer is that it gives you this alternative vision, and you're able to see things truly through a different lens. And I really do believe that's a superpower, and I love it. And I have to say that I am so happy that I'm queer, and I love so much my community and my girlfriend, who I met when I was 15, the first person that I ever fell in love with. And that I'm able to help other people and to be there for them. And because I stuck it out and didn't quit and had the power and the strength to say who I truly am, and that that's okay, I have been able to recognize that one person can make changes that are significant enough to allow other people to see themselves and to know that there's visibility in our communities, and that visibility is strong because we are a resilient community, and we are full of love and strength and power, and we use our voices every day to create change and to help folks. And so 3 years ago, I created the Dresscode Project, which is a not-for-profit within the pro-beauty industry that is helping salons recognize that queer identity and hair outside of the recognized binary is so important, and that we need to make space for it, and we need to create safety in it. And today, I am so proud to know that that little kid that lived 2 separate lives, that promised they would never, ever admit they were gay, didn't get married to a man, and didn't live the life they were so clearly told to live, and didn't lose the people that they loved, and is creating space for all of these young people to come up and do more for our community and create more space for our community, so that the world can recognize that we are just as equal as the rest of them. My name is Kristin Rankin, and this is The Face of Queer Beauty.